All right, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hardest part of the ring. And we are bringing you just another episode of Indie Underground. Clearly, I'm your host, a cut above the rest, better than the best, Teron Bishop. And I'm here with Hollywood Jacoby. And Hollywood, we have a special guest with us today.
This is true. This is true, America, all of our fans. We have a very special Indie Underground for you guys. We have with us tonight the Messiah of the mat, Mr. Shaun Moore. Thank you so much for being on with us. Very happy to get you on, man. Been loving what I've seen from you guys from doing like Clandestine Society and everything. So I've been really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very excited for this, and I'm glad to be here, guys.
Well, I like the Messiah, the Matt Messiah, but I like the Picture Perfect player better. Like, I like that one better.
That's a funny story. I came up with that when I was like,
oh, okay. Oh, goodness.
I was like eight years old when I came up with that. And then I was cutting a promo one time and it just randomly flew out. And I was just sitting there, blah, 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 blah. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm the picture perfect player. And then it just stuck. And I was like, okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yes. I love it. Like, I read that and I was just like, this guy's a freaking genius. Let's go. Like, it's so funny how things when you're younger, how that kind of translates to stuff that when you're older, like, yeah. When we were coming up with our handles, mine better than the best. It was something that I used to say when I wrestled in high school, like, it just kind of stuck. So, I went through a couple of iterations of cool nicknames, but this one really stuck. I like it. I got into something with Mike Blaze. He was like, well, I'm better than the best. And I'm like, no, I will fight you. I am better than the best. Okay? Like, I have no problem. I will come to Canada and break my foot off in his ass. I'm not scared.
Oh my God.
So
I wanted to come up, like I had, like when I was a kid, I had the Kodak moment, the picture perfect player. Everything was back to cameras. I don't know how that started, but it was all like, that was all my moveset and everything at the time.
Nice.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
Shaun, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, see, I was born in England, in the United Kingdom, and I spent the first 13 years of my life there. So my love of wrestling and stuff came from being over in England. So I have a little bit of a different experience to people in North America. Like, I'm sure if you talk to people in England, they'll explain to you like watching wrestling was really difficult because of the time zone difference. Mm-hmm. So in England, when wrestling came on, it came on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. So like anytime you watch a pay-per-view or like Raw, that was the only, like I had to record it. So for me, I grew up in an area where like there was no independent wrestling whatsoever. Like wrestling didn't exist. And obviously the scene in England blew up in 2014 or so.
Right.
So up until that point, there was like no wrestling whatsoever. And before I moved to Canada, I moved quite a bit in England. I grew up in small town England in a place, Newport Pagnell, right outside of Milton Keynes. Mm-hmm. And there, I love wrestling, so I did martial arts when I was younger. So like Tang Soo Do. So I did some national tournaments, and I got a black belt in that eventually. And that was all because of wrestling. I did gymnastics, played soccer, obviously, all that kind of stuff. And then I moved to Canada in 2005 with my family. And immediately I got signed up into high school wrestling. And then that's where everything really developed. And then I wrestled in high school. I had a really cool moment. I placed at the NAIA Nationals in the US in high school because we were like doing some back and forth. And then I went to university at the University of Regina in Saskatchewan. Then I wrestled for the U of R. And U of R, we did both Division II in the US and we did the Canadian CIS. So I wrestled all throughout high school, all throughout university. And then so it's funny because I trained with Lance Storm. So that was my first trainer for pro wrestling. And I had messaged him at 14 years old. I was in computer science class, supposed to be paying attention. And his email for his school had just opened up, and I had emailed him, and he was just basically like, "You're way too young for this. Come back when you're 18." And then I had finished wrestling at the university. About I had stopped about 2012. I was kind of like burned out from wrestling for so long, and then about 2013, I had decided to give the deposit. Then in 2014, I moved to Calgary and I trained with Lance Storm, and then that's how my wrestling career started.
The rest is history, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So look, Shaun, I want to touch on this martial art. So we kind of got a similar background. So I am a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been training since I was 3. And I wrestled in college and a little bit in high school. So like I feel your pain. High school and college wrestling is tough. Like people don't understand how tough it is to be an athlete on that level. Like you said you did a couple of tournaments as well, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Say, sorry. Yeah, ask the question first. Yeah.
So I was saying that how hard was it for you to like kind of travel, like especially at that age, because you were coming down to the States for that, for your wrestling tournaments as well, correct?
Yeah, well, I have some, they're not funny experiences, but going to the States was difficult for me because at the border, it's hard enough being a Canadian person getting across the border. Right. But they were always so confused because I have a British passport, because I'm a permanent resident of Canada.
Right.
Not to mention my physical appearance made it very difficult for them to understand what I was doing whilst I was crossing the border. So I remember we were in a tournament and it's 20 of us on the team. We're in a bus. We get pulled up to the border at North Dakota, and they completely single me out, pull me off the bus, put me in a room. I get interviewed. My coach is furious because he's just like, they're asking him, what am I trying to smuggle into the country? And of course I'm not. I'm on a team. I've got my team tracksuit on. So like the first couple of years, I had a lot of issues crossing the border. Actually, up until I started pro wrestling, it was a little bit easier in terms of like, I knew what was going on. Gotcha. But yeah, it's very difficult crossing the border, being ethnic as well at the same time having a British passport. And they always wondered, why don't you have a Canadian passport? And I'm always like, I don't know. You tell the government I've been here longer than I was in England to give me a citizenship.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's really difficult for you like that. And then on top of that, then you start talking, and then you really throwing them all the way off.
Yeah, completely throwing them off. Because like it's funny because at first people don't expect the accent, because it's not as strong, obviously, as it was when I was in England. But once I start talking and I'm comfortable, my accent comes out, and then people are just flabbergasted because they're just like, "What? You do not sound exactly like what I thought at all. I was thinking something exactly different was going to come out of your mouth." So it's always fun for me in wrestling promos. Like when I get into promos and stuff, people are expecting something else, and then here I am, and then this accent comes out, and it's a completely different style. They're just so like, I don't know what box to put you in, because I had a vision of you to be this one way, but then you come out and speak with this accent. And to me, I think that that's beautiful, because it's like, it goes to show you that you can't put anybody into a box. Just because I look a certain way doesn't mean that that's how I'm going to act. Right. And that's something that in my wrestling, that I really want to portray. Like, I am not the stereotypical black guy in the ring or outside the ring, because again, what's the stereotypical black guy, right? If you're black, you're black. It doesn't matter whether you're from England, Canada, United States. You could be from Japan. It doesn't matter, right? It's about what you do in the ring, and it's about how you portray yourself. Exactly. So for me, that's something I like to always put out there, because I'm like, you don't know what you're going to get when it comes to me. And it's always something that's going to be great. So I love to put that over.
I like that. The mystery man, Shaun Moore.
Yeah. Shaun Moore just stay at church. Let the church say amen. Yeah. Let the church say amen. So, Shaun, I'm gonna give you a fact. So I have 2 godsons, and their mom is actually from England. So she's from
Okay, yeah.
Sheffield, England.
Yeah.
Another fun fact is I lived 2 years in England, right outside of London, when I was younger for a work exchange program. So I'm familiar with your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
You know, I am very much so. So speaking of, you know, just like the climate for African Americans and Black and Brown people in wrestling, I know you've been keeping up, right? And you watch WrestleMania probably. You watched NXT and things and such. How do you feel about the climate of wrestling right now as a Black and Brown performer? Because as you notice in WWE, in AEW, it's a lot of African American stars and Black and Brown people are actually rising to the top. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel great, man. Like I was there live for when Kofi. I was wrestling WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
So I was there when Kofi won the title at WrestleMania. That was first non WWE house show I've ever been to in my life. So I was actually quite stoked. Yeah, I was quite stoked about that.
Yeah.
But like it meant a lot to me, man. Because like growing up, you know, people think that you're lying or that they're like, there's no way you could feel this way about a specific person winning a title, you know, especially in the industry. And it's something that people don't like to talk about or think you shouldn't talk about because you're in the industry. But Kofi winning that belt at WrestleMania was huge for people that look like me and others, and not just people that look like me, but everybody in general, because it was the true underdog story. Like, you know, 50 years, 50 years to get to that point, right? And growing up as a kid, you know, you always seen people become tag champion, Intercontinental champion, United States champion. You're always like, that's great. But you never saw somebody win the big one. And especially in the biggest show of the year, you know, that was incredible and inspiring, right? And then to now see how far, you know, speaking from my own experience, Black wrestlers have come in not just WWE, you know, like Kevin Knight in New Japan at the dojo right now. Yeah. Him being the first Black guy as a part of the dojo system in the LA dojo system, you know, that's huge, because if we felt that way at our age of 15, you know, 10 years ago, when we come and wrestle now in 10 years, there's going to be a bunch of kids that look like us that's going to be sitting there going, this is legit possible. Absolutely. I'm not wondering, will this potentially happen? They're going, if I put the work in and I go as hard as I can be on top. And you can also prove that we can be on top of the industry. So I think it's great.
Yeah, like, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. Like, again, I'm a little older, right? Like, we don't like to talk about my age on the podcast. I've seen some stuff, right? And as a young wrestling fan, you know, like Kofi, I thought The Rock was going to be the pinnacle, right? Like, this is the closest we're going to get. Like, to be honest, let's just call a spade a spade. That's what I thought. You know, but then to see Kofi do it, right? To see Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair in the ring together, headlining. It's crazy, man. You know, to see the Scorpio Skies of the world, to see the Rich Swans of the world, actually at a point, at the pinnacle, at the top, at the best of their brands, it is heartwarming, right? Like, and it really does give you hope, like that now we as people get to be seen. Because again, just like you said, it's other kids out there, Black and brown, female, you know, whatever, that looks up and they want to see somebody that represents them, right?
Absolutely.
And now
you think of how just to bring up a point here, you think of how powerful the women's wrestling movement has been in the last 10 years. And you take a look at where women's wrestling was in the early 2000s to where it is now. And that's exactly the same thing that is happening for wrestlers, you know, of different ethnicities, that where they were in a certain place before and now 10 years from now, that's humongous. And to be treated fairly and with respect and to be allowed to be put in these positions where they can get themselves over will only do nothing more than to help the industry grow, you know?
Yep, most definitely. It just diversifies, right? It brings something special to the table. So speaking of bringing something special to the table, tell us about your style, because I was watching you wrestle and it's kind of got a cool style. So tell me how you came up with it.
Well, see, a lot of it is based on, I'm a very chill person outside of the ring. But when I was wrestling and I was in my martial arts tournaments, I became a very intense and Sometimes it comes off as extremely aggressive, and I've tried to turn that up when I'm in the ring. So when you see me in the ring, you'll see lots of strikes. I like to take my time. I like to really focus psychologically on what I'm doing inside the ring, because to me, why am I wasting my time doing a whole bunch of stuff around the ring if it doesn't mean anything? Less is more, you know, quality over quantity. So if I hit you, it means something, you know. If I'm on top of you and I'm in control, you know, I'm letting you know I'm in control. So a lot of people have a very, you know, flashy style, and my style isn't necessarily completely flashy. I can do the flips and the jumps and the dives and the stuff like that, but I just want to grind someone's face into the mat, you know.
Right.
I want to be able to sit there and get. I'm used to getting riding points, so I'm going to ride my opponent to the ground and make sure I can pin them and make sure I can beat them, you know. So it's a very, my favorite style of wrestling of all time is that mid 2000s era, back with Eddie Guerrero and those guys in the early 2000s, as well as that ROH style, you know, Scoot McAndrews, you know, Jay Lethal, Daniel Bryan back then, Samoa Joe, all those guys, you know. So for me, I like to try and come up with an evolved sense of that wrestling style, because for me, I feel like that's kind of slipping away in wrestling. Like everybody is so good at the lucha styles and, you know, entertainment aspect of wrestling these days. And I'm like, I don't want that technical side where, because I remember watching ROH and, you know, people would be sitting there clapping at the holds. And I'm like, yo, bring that back. Run that back.
Exactly.
You know, like that to me is the art form of wrestling. That's something I still want to preserve whilst I'm in the ring.
For sure. For sure. It's funny that you said that, because when I was watching you, especially the latest match I've seen from Clandestine Society and stuff, is it just reminded me of, like, you know, that old Bryan Danielson thing, you know, and I was just like, yeah, like this is hard nosed and like real technical. And I was just really into it, which is kind of interesting coming from me, because historically, you know, I'm a sucker for flips and shit. You know, I'm a sucker for like for, you know, the flashy stuff. And Toronto and I kind of argue about it all the time, because when it comes to like tag teams like FTR, for example, or like the NWA style of wrestling with power and stuff, to me, like, I still enjoy the show, but, you know, I'm also like, it's not, you know, it's not Kota Ibushi or something. And Tehran's like, well, you have to kind of appreciate it. And it's, of course, like, maybe it's an age thing as well, but it's just, you know, you have to, because from that style evolves everything else. And really everything centers around what it is that, you know, guys that wrestle like you do, or like Lethal does, it all derivative from that. So it's really cool to kind of see that and see how proud you are of being that type of, you know, and wanting to stick to what you are, you know.
It's like the ROH Pure Wrestling tournament they have for the Pure title with Jonathan Gresham and those guys, and then like Bloodsport. Those are the type of things that I would love to be able to get involved with and show what I could do, because, like, you know, that's my style, and I love that style of wrestling.
Yeah,
you know. So
gotcha.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of go from there and just kind of ask, like, is that the type of thing that, because you did say briefly you were at the dojo before the pandemic and stuff, and I was just curious if they were really into that style, or if they had all like kind of nudged you to add more stuff to the repertoire or anything like that. Like, is it like, what's the vibe there, you know, like, what is it like? Is it from the ground up?
It's just straight pure wrestling at the dojo, man. Like,
gotcha.
Firstly, respect to all the guys that come through the New Japan dojo system. That is the hardest system that you can come through possible. You know, all those guys that's there right now, Kevin Knight, DKC, Alex Coughlin, Carl Fredericks, Clark Connors, incredible guys, incredible wrestlers. Anytime I can put those guys over, I will, because they're, you know, what they have to go through to make it through the dojo. That's how you become the best. Like, the training, the mentality to survive that situation is incredible. And, you know, the short time I got to spend at the dojo, as you saw in the match in the clandestine, I'm very aggressive and very loud, and I attribute that to that training that I got at the dojo. So I'm very thankful and very appreciative of that training, because you know, before I had that kind of amateur style, I wasn't able to translate that aggression the way I wanted to. And thanks to the New Japan Dojo, I feel like I'm finally at a point where I'm like, this is exactly how I can be and who I am in the ring.
Gotcha. I mean, hey, even though it was a brief time, man, at least you were able to get something out that's really so visible for even just a fan like me. Like that little change in itself just makes me want to see more of you anyway. You know what I mean? Like just that kind of thing. It works for you for sure.
So Shaun, tell us about like your decision for your finisher, and tell us the name of it. Tell America the name of your finishing move and why you chose it.
Matt, you put me on the spot because I'm trying to come up with a finishing name for the
Oh, okay.
Hey, guess what, homie? You better figure it out right now.
Hey, it's Kodak moment. It's my 8-year-old self. It's the Kodak moment. No,
that's perfect though. That works.
It's funny because it was actually Michael Allen Richard Clark that helped me come up with it.
Oh God, that guy.
Yeah. That's yo. Let me for a second give a shout out to Michael Allen Richard Clark. That guy is my boy. I've been with him pretty much since day one wrestling here in Saskatchewan. I love that guy so much.
He's hilarious, by the way. He's a hoot. Like we have some good times on air and off air.
For sure.
Talking to him. We talked about some Marvel stuff, and he really kind of just got on my nerves with his answer.
Oh my God.
He does that.
Right. So I like to argue, right? Like I will argue.
This is true.
I think I've argued with probably 6 people we've interviewed on air and off air. I don't give a shit. Like, I am that man to argue with you about nothing.
Yeah.
Really though, it's that way.
We were wrestling the matches. We had multiple matches, and I think I just hit the knee, and he like backflipped out of it, and then he was just like, "Yo, what if you like forcefully tried to do this?" And then we did it again, and the rest was history. And then it was just like, oh yeah, this is now my finisher, because I was using the backstab before and it was feeling good, but I had injured my ACL in my knee, so I had to stop using it. So I was finishing matches when I was winning them with roll-ups because I didn't have anything else, and then it was just like everything kind of fell into place. And then now I'm like, that's it. You know, that knee is dangerous. It looks great. It's sudden.
It doesn't have a damn name. And it doesn't have a name.
Does it need to have a name? Why would you be worried about a name if you're knocked out?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Right? I like that.
Okay, all right.
Why would you be worried about a name if you're knocked out?
We're on to something though. Yeah. Does it need to have a name? We can just use it as an acronym.
No, if you kick out of this, you name it. You know, that kind of.
I think we should just use it as an acronym though. So it's the does it need to have a name? Like, you know, like the D&D.
Oh, there you go. The D&D.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
And there you go. You got a name. You're welcome. I'll only take 5%. All right, that's it. So Shaun 5, and you know, hopefully we meet each other one day, and I'll just go ahead and collect that. Like, you know.
Yeah. just tweet it out. Tweet the name out everywhere. I'll give you credit.
We're just gonna gift you doing the move and then just put the name on it. Or Jake, what we could do is we could put the move on the social media account, give people like a list of names, and then let them choose for them.
Yes. I agree with that.
Let's do that. Jake, can we make that happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can make that happen.
Shaun, we're going to make this happen for you. We're going to find a name.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm down for this, man.
We're going to find a name, most definitely. Our other partner that's usually on the show, he is actually out sick today, but he's usually really good at finding move names as well. Like, so we're going to show him the move too. And we're going to come up with a list. We'll tag you in it on social media, and then we can just have some fun with it.
Straight up. Oh, man, I'll be retweeting everything. I'll be like, yo, let's find out what this name is.
Yes. So, you know, here's the question of all questions, right? That I asked every one of you guys that show up on the show. Obviously, if somebody handed you a contract today, you know, you would accept it, right? You know, like it's just what it is. But it has to be a preferred place that you would love to work. So if you landed outside of the Indies in any of these promotions that's going on right now, what would you like to land and why?
Like major promotion or like indie
major
promotion?
Yeah, major promotion.
I mean, I'd be lying, obviously, if I didn't say, WWE. That's like the pinnacle of wrestling, right? Like, regardless of what people say, we all just watched WrestleMania, the other day, the 2 nights, and the spectacle of it, right? Like, you was like, that's obviously where you want to, end up being because of how incredible it is, But it's such a loaded question because there's so many different opportunities and so many places that, like, again, AEW is featuring so many young talents. So it's like the ability to be on TV and to feature yourself among all those young and hungry competitors will be incredible. I talk about loving that old school mid 2000s wrestling style. Impacted ROH. That's it, right? Like, right. They forefathered that at that time. I've always wanted to be in the X division. I mean, who hasn't? Who was a wrestler that was watching that time period, right? ROH, I mentioned early on in this interview, had the pure championship. So, like, I think that's the thing that's amazing about wrestling right now is that not only is there so many options, but like the ability to be able to showcase different styles between each promotion is incredible. So whether you can find out where your niche is or where your lane is, you can siphon off into different places. So the obvious is WWE for the spectacle. But AEW, ROH, and Impact have huge, amazing opportunities that I would definitely not want to give up whatsoever.
What star are you watching right now? So give me a male star that you're watching that you're really enamored with that's working in mainstream right now. Give me a female star that you're really high on right now.
Male star I'm huge on. There's a few. Powerhouse Hobbs. I would love to be in the ring with him. There's so much that I think you could do with him that would be incredible. As well as I watched MLW and I saw Calvin Tankman.
Yeah.
I've never met him personally.
Right.
But again, like, I'm always sitting there and I'm like, okay, so he could be the Samoa Joe to my Bryan Danielson. Like, that's how I kind of look at people at that size. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we're both aggressive. I'm a little bit shorter. Like, don't get twisted. Like, I'm legit 200 pounds. I like decent muscle. So I'm not small by any means. Gotcha. But what I mean is, like, we can really feed off of each other. Of course. In terms of women's wrestling, I always have love for Io Shirai. I think that she is one of the most incredible performers I've ever seen in the ring. Like, she is like a cat when she nips up on that top rope and hits that moonsault and moves around the ring. Yeah, it's crazy. Ty Conti is super impressive in AEW.
Right. Her limited experience.
Yeah, I feel that she. Absolutely. Yeah. You talk about taking an opportunity and running with it. She is taking the opportunity after leaving WWE and completely ran with it. Deonna Purrazzo's killing it in Impact. I firstly, like, shout out to the entire the Knockouts roster for the last 5 years. Like, absolutely, every single one of those girls, have really showcased what they can do in that division. So it's Kiera Hogan. I think she's a star, man.
Yeah.
I think she's great. So I don't know. I'm happy that she's starting to get. Again, we never met before, but I watch her stuff and I'm just like, yeah, you're good. You're real good at this.
We would love to get her on the show. Like Javon, our other co-host, he would love to get her on the show. I would too. She's a beast, man. Ty Conti, which you praised her. She's, for her limited experience, like Jacoby said, she kind of kills it for what she does. It looks clean and put together. Io Shirai is my favorite female wrestler outside of Bianca Belair right now. Io Shirai is awesome. And I found her because of Jacoby. Right. And the moment I saw her match, I was just like, she's the one. I want to see everything she's doing.
It was pretty
absolutely. And obviously, again, like for the obvious ones, like you said, Sasha Banks showing up in The Mandalorian and what she's done in wrestling.
Right.
Again, breaking barriers, because it's like you know, she's on the way to becoming, you know, like Batista and The Rock. So again, you gotta give her flowers because like that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so
we give her plenty of flowers, especially with all these backgrounds, man. Everybody loves Sasha, which is she deserves it. You know.
Okay, first of all, I don't give Sasha Banks flowers at all. I give her.
We don't ask
her lemons, and the reason that I give her lemons is I hate her face. Her face persona is the worst. Like
I thought you meant like physically, and I was about to be like,
no, I love her face. Like no. I mean, that's usually my on brand for me. I usually say like really fucked up stuff, but I love her face. Her heel persona is terrible. It's trash. I can't like her. I'm not her heel. Her face. Her heel persona.
Her as a baby face it needs work. I agree, but her as a heel, she should stay.
Never. Anytime they offer her a face run, she should say no. Like, no, I'm good. Hard pass. Like, I'll skip the title and I'll just wait. Like, you know, until a heel opportunity comes along.
Oh my God.
Because it is hot garbage. Every time I see it, I'm just like, turn the channel. Like, quickly. Or can we skip 6 months till she turn heel again?
Oh my goodness.
6 months.
It's just the truth.
Shaun, it's kind of funny that you mentioned, you know, Samoa Joe to your Bryan Danielson, because recently on Twitter, didn't you're trying to get in line here for after these 90 days are up to get an actual match, right? I was thinking,
no shame, no shame
hell
whatsoever.
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah,
you have to shoot your shot.
That's a dream match for me for sure, man. Samoa Joe was that guy for me. Like, I think it was Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Back in 2004 when I was like, what, 12?
Okay.
It was the first time I had really got experience to like wrestlers outside of WWE. And Samoa Joe was on the front cover with the ROH World Championship. I had never heard of ROH before. So I had seen him from back then. Because like a thing that a lot of people in North America don't know is that in England, there was a channel called the Wrestling Channel that was out for about a year or two or so. And that's what opened my eyes up the first time I saw Japanese wrestling. It showed wrestling in Mexico, British wrestling. And then that's how I saw ROH and TNA for the first time. And I saw Samoa Joe and I was like, yo, that's the guy right there. I was like, firstly, he comes out to Simon Says, Pharaoh Munch. I'm like, that was completely off the chart for me at the time. And just to see his style and how quick and aggressive he was at the same time, I was like, you know, if I could do that. So the opportunity that now he's left WWE, and if I could get that match, you know, I'm bringing all kinds of pain to that fight with Samoa Joe.
Well, you have to.
I'm going all out for that.
Let's go. Sure. Let's put it into the world, okay? We're gonna when we post your episode, we're gonna make sure we tag Samoa Joe too. So this gets come out. When we cut the clip, Jake, we need to cut this into the clip for real. We call it Samoa Joe out. Let's go, Samoa Joe.
Let's go.
Let's go. Yes. By the time you fight Samoa Joe, we're gonna have a move name and everything. Let's go.
Absolutely. I'll be ready to go when he's there.
So this weekend, right? Or this past weekend and week, WrestleMania week, right? So you mentioned something that I want to get it from your perspective. We talked about it on our prior podcast about just the length of time for WrestleMania. So WrestleMania was 2 nights, and then NXT was 2 nights, and NXT did something different, which was it was in the week leading into WrestleMania. How did you feel about wrestling set up for WrestleMania week this time around? And do you think it was too much wrestling on TV?
I would never think there's too much wrestling on TV because wrestling's my favorite thing ever. So I'm definitely biased because I love pro wrestling. So I'm down to watch wrestling at any time. I liked how it was spaced out with NXT stuff happening during the week. And the 2 nights of WrestleMania made the show feel less bloated, in my opinion. And I thought that it worked really well. It was a little harsher on some of the indie shows because obviously on other WrestleMania weekends, they wrestle throughout the week. And then, you know, WWE does all the big stuff on the weekend. So when TakeOver is 2 nights in the evening time, you know, shows are having to go on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like I watched the For the Culture show, and they had to go on at 1 o'clock in the morning, obviously, right? So for that kind of stuff, it sucks, but obviously for WWE, you know, it's great because if you know you're watching all that content, it's now spread out where you can watch it. I'm hoping that we can find a way that the content is able to be spread out better so people can watch the indie content and see what all the guys in GCW are doing and any of the surrounding promotions that are wrestling on that weekend.
Any other weekend, any other WrestleMania, dude, that Nick Gage, John Moxley match would have been all over my Twitter, would have been all over my YouTube page. And unfortunately, because of just how back to back everything was, it got trumped, and I feel terrible about it. But it was because just of how impressive it was, but it just didn't get enough shine in my opinion because of just how it was like bang, bang, bang. So
you know what made me sad? Like just I missed the Fall to Culture show. Like I was looking so forward to that this year, but it was so much content going on, I could not catch it. Like, you know, so I caught a lot of recap and everything. I like that they have a show like that. Like that's pretty dope. I didn't even know, like I was in WrestleMania, what, 2, 3, 4 years ago now, right?
Yeah, when it was in Orlando.
Yeah, when it was in Orlando, I was at WrestleMania. I don't know if they had that show there, but if I'd known that they were doing shows like that, I would definitely attend it.
Yeah, and they're all over. Like I did extra work for Evolve, and I wrestled. I think it's the big Kaiju show in New York, where like everybody's dressed up in like, you know, Kaiju gear. Like I was a plantain for that show, and I had a tag with another one, and we wrestled. I think we were in Brooklyn for that, you know. So it's just like there's so many different shows and stuff, and it's like, yeah, with the way they have the setup, it makes it a lot more difficult. And I'm hoping that, you know, maybe they can find a way to facilitate that, or maybe like, I know, you know, SummerSlam weekend is pretty big. Maybe they might end up figuring out how to do indie shows that time. You know, obviously I'm not in the States, so I don't know how they plan that kind of stuff.
Right.
Hopefully there's a way that more stuff can be seen.
I will hope that NXT just goes back to the weekend before. Like,
that's what I was saying, is that
one night. I think WrestleMania being 2 nights, I wholeheartedly agree with you that it's less bloat on the show to have WrestleMania 2 nights. I don't think NXT needs to be 2 nights.
Yeah.
It just takes away from the feel of the show. And NXT has a different type of feeling, a different type of heart to that show. And I don't want it to feel like a big show. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want it to feel like regular WWE content. I want it to feel different. That's why we love NXT. So, you know, that one show, that special takeover, you were just very excited about it. So hopefully they just go back to one night and they do it the weekend before and let WrestleMania have those 2 nights, because I really did. I absorbed a lot from WrestleMania, it being 2 nights. Like I really enjoyed that process.
Yeah, I think people got more time too, you know, like sure. I even think back to again, the ability for Bianca and Sasha to main event that first night, the whole sole focus was on them. So it's like, imagine if it was all in one night and then they would be competing for, you know, the Bad Bunny spot, right? Shout out Bad Bunny, he was great.
He was.
You know, also competing with the triple threat, which was also great. And it's like, with that many matches and stuff, it becomes a lot because like, what combined, there was probably like 20 matches between both nights.
Yeah.
So if you did one show, that would have been like a 7-hour show, like the one I went to in New York. And honestly, it flows well. Like when I was in New York, the show flowed nicely, but it was 1 o'clock and we had to jump because, you know, obviously people weren't able to catch Uber and stuff at that time of night, you know. So
you first of all, shout out Bad Bunny, like you said, somebody to get that boy a contract immediately. Start there. Then, second, your boys showed out in that triple threat match. You know, they showed out and they left it on the table. And like we said on the podcast, acknowledge Mr. Reigns. Like you can't hate on him. You gotta acknowledge him. Acknowledge
tell me that guy is not the man of the industry.
No, I agree with that though. That's the thing, is that ain't nobody stopping him. You know what I mean? Like,
he pinned both dudes. He said, let me lay you on top of the other. Let me pin both of y'all to show my dominance. Roman Reigns now, I love it. Like whatever they were trying to do, and I'm happy that they learned from the John Cena situation where they produced this champion and it didn't feel organic. Like with Roman Reigns, it just feels organic now. Like,
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, WrestleMania weekend, they had, people in the stands for the first time with COVID, but unfortunately, it's not like that around the world. So I know you've probably had some struggles with COVID. And, being a pro wrestler in the COVID age is a little bit different. And your peers have shared different experiences. We want to hear about your experience.
See, it's very hard because and I'm sure talking to Michael Allen and Richard Clark, you understand, for us to drive to one show non-COVID, it's 7.5 hours from Regina, Saskatchewan to Calgary.
Right.
So for us to wrestle a 10, 15-minute match, we got to drive 8 hours in a vehicle, set up the ring, wrestle the show, and drive back the next night to get back to work the next day.
Yeah.
Winnipeg is 6 hours from Regina. Edmonton, 8 hours from Regina in a different direction. For a portion there, I was doing some matches for Glory Pro in St. Louis. That's a 21-hour drive for me to get out to St. Louis. I wrestled for Super Kicks in Toronto, 25 hours from Regina to Toronto. I drove to the New Japan Dojo in LA because flights are so expensive in Canada. For me to fly from Regina to Vancouver in country, you're looking at $1,100 for a flight.
Yeah, just can't do it.
And so me and Davey O'Doyle, shout out to O'Doyle, he's my best friend. We drove to LA, and that's 25 hours again. So for us to get anywhere, we're hopping in a car and we are driving hours up and down, trying to get from show to show, just to be seen. And trying to wrestle in the States is very hard because obviously to stay there, you need a work visa, right? And without the work visa, you got to come back home. But you got to take a week to go. If I'm wrestling Glory Pro, or I'm wrestling in Minneapolis or something like that, I have to think to myself, okay, the show is Saturday. So either I drive this all of Friday through Saturday night, or I got to leave Thursday so I can drive to Minneapolis and then finish the drive Friday to St. Louis, get enough sleep that I can still wrestle Saturday, and then I got to drive the whole 21 hours back straight Sunday so I can get back for work Monday. And I can do that once or twice a summer,
right?
Because I can't sit there and keep crossing the border because they're going to start complaining about me about not having a visa, even though technically, we're not being paid on salary, so we should be able to go across the border and wrestle. So it makes it very difficult. And then it's something I've always said to, my peers and wrestlers around me, the big promotions. It's frustrating because, I've been to countless tryouts with Impact, ROH, New Japan, Evolve. And, I feel like I do well enough in them, but why would they spend money on a guy that they have to pay for a visa for when there's a whole wealth of talent in the United States? So that makes me hungrier because I have to now prove I'm the absolute best so that that you're getting your money's worth when I'm coming across. I always sit there and say, name a bad Canadian wrestler.
Can't.
You can't.
Can't.
Right? Edge, Christian, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, because of how difficult it is for us to get seen, So in one aspect, it sucks because it's we just want to be able to go out and wrestle on any show possible to show that we can do.
Of course.
But in hindsight, it makes us become the best that we can be because we have to be the best to be picked to go and wrestle elsewhere,
Of course. Yeah, man. That is just, I can't even fathom that, man. I mean, you hear the stories of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn driving up and down and all throughout Canada, together and stuff. And just to imagine not only sitting in a car with Clark for that long, but but like just going all over, man. It's just kind of like, being in Saskatchewan and being in Regina specifically, it's just like its own little pocket that's just so far away from everything else. It's just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine like just driving 6 hours somewhere just to come back that day. Like, oh God, I mean,
Yeah,
makes me love you guys even more, honestly.
Thank you.
Like,
and we do it all the time, man. Like that's the only way we can wrestle. Like, even our local show, like we'll wrestle. We had a high impact wrestling that was in Regina, but Saskatoon's the closest big city in Saskatchewan. That's still a 2.5 hour drive, So it's like, if we want to be wrestlers, again, I don't know what else we can do. We have to sit there and travel. Like there's a guy, Tyler Colton from Winnipeg.
Okay.
He's a guy who travels all over the place as well. He was in Germany with WXW. He's been in OWE in China and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like we get these small little bursts here and there, but like we to be able to have the opportunity to just be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna go and stay in Florida, for example, for a year with no issues. Right. Would be a dream, because then we can drive up and down. Like Canada's massive, right? Like you can drive in the US and you can get to a different state within a couple hours, depending on where you are in the country, right?
Right.
Versus like we got to drive 6 hours to cross the province line to get to the next province in Canada. Nuts,
man. Like, because where we are in Virginia, I mean, we're less than an hour away really from the North Carolina border, and we're 3 hours away from DC. Like it's nothing to us, you know. And just thinking about like that kind of thing, man, it's just crazy to think about that, and just like it really puts it into perspective how much more Canadians want it, as opposed to dudes here. And
I wouldn't say wants it more. I would say that it's a bit more. It's more difficult. Like right. I don't want to sit here and come on and
no. And that's I'm not saying that's what you say.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of thing where it's just really cool. But let me ask you this though. So you wrestle a lot for PWA, and one match that stuck out to me was your match with Shawn Spears, right? This was about 2019. So this is around the time that he had just came into AEW's fold and stuff. And I need to talk about this one spot with you guys because it just works so well. So you were playing heel and you came out and you got the chair, right? And you bring it back in and you're about to pull an Eddie Guerrero. You throw Shawn the chair and you fall over hoping the ref will see and stuff. And then Shawn takes it and puts the chair around his neck and falls backwards, and then you play it so well where you're like, no. And I just was like, yo, I have to highlight this when we get him on the show, because it was like, it just made me laugh so hard. I was like, this is hilarious. Like, just oh my God, it was so good, man. So good.
Man, Guerrero's the GOAT, man. So it's just like, gotcha. How can guy. And like, how could we? Both of us was like, how can we evolve the situation? Because you don't want to copy the same thing. It's like, how can I, And like again, as much as I'm a hard and aggressive person in the ring, like you said, wrestling is still entertainment, right? So you got to be able to show that side of you, man. Those matches were fun, man. Like Shaun Spears was a blast, and he was a great guy. It was fun matches.
Gotcha. That's what I hear, is that he's a pretty cool dude. But yeah, dude, that was something I had never seen before, which is very rare. So I was super into it for sure.
Thank you.
So we normally kind of ask guys, and a lot of the time we'll get dudes that'll say like Kane is their favorite of all time. Is Guerrero's your guy, right?
Guerrero was one of my guys.
Gotcha.
I'm weird in the sense that like I've never truly had like a single guy, like per se. Like I would say a top three for me. A top four, honestly, is probably Guerrero, Angle, Edge, and Bret Hart.
Gotcha.
Again, all very similar styles.
Yeah. And all mirrors yours.
Sorry, fifth, and Shelton Benjamin.
Oh wow.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. I was the biggest Shelton Benjamin fan back when he was running in 2004 and 5 and world's greatest tag team. Like when I was a kid, I was legit like, yo, all I gotta do is go to the Olympics, win a medal, and then Kurt Angle's gonna make me be in his tag team. I'm gonna be with those guys, you know. So, but
how hard
it's all very, it's all very like similar style. Like again, it's like very specific. Like to me, like I said, Guerrero, Shelton Benjamin, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle to me was able to be a goof on TV, but at the same time be the most legit badass in the ring possible.
Right.
And to be able to have that balance, I think is incredible. He could cut promos. He could obviously go and man won the Olympics.
Absolutely.
You know, so
with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah.
right.
Like
Shaun, man, you're absolutely capable of doing the same thing, man. For real. Anything like that combination.
I appreciate it.
That combination, dude, you are absolutely capable of doing that. And I'm 100% certain that is something that will come about in the future for sure.
I'm going to chime in and I'm going to say, America, our listeners, hardest part of our ring fans, like every one of these Canadian wrestlers that we've had on in the underground has a level of humility and professionalism that just transpires everything. Like they're amazing people. Shaun, the dedication that you have, and just listening to how you speak about wrestling, like I am a fan, and I've only watched a few matches, but I am a fan going forward. I promise you, right? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep that dedication and keep that passion. And, you know, this, I'm going to call a spade and just call it facts. Everybody that you named as one of those top Canadian wrestlers, nobody looked like me and you, right? And I want you to be that guy that when people say the names of those wrestlers, you're added into that mix. And I think you can do it. Not even I think you can do it. I know you can do it, right? So keep up that dedication, keep up that drive, keep up that hope, and then also get a move name, and then we're going to be good to go. Okay? We got it. Like, you know what I mean? But look, man, as we begin to wrap up here, I'm going to ask you one last pivotal question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a big one. Why does all Canadian wrestlers that we've talked to from the Indies love Kane? Clark? Bias?
Are you sure it's all of us? Are you sure it's all of us? It's just Michael Allen, Richard Clark.
No.
It's Blaze too, man.
No, Blaze.
And Chris Parrish. And
Parrish.
Right.
All of them. Kane is like in the top.
I mean, Kane is great. And like Michael and Richard Clark is gonna be pissed at me.
You can't tell the secret though. The secret can't be told. Like, so make sure the secret is locked up. We can't let the secret go.
Right.
Not like I wouldn't sit there and say like Kane is fantastic and I love Kane, but I'm not in the same boat as those guys. But guess what though? I'm also born in England, so that's probably what it is.
Oh, yes.
I'm technically British. So there you go. I'm null and void from this conversation.
Right. It's so crazy, man. Like, I'm like, what in the hell? Like, all of them. Like, what are y'all doing? Kane and Sasha Banks. I mean, look, I said one bad thing about Sasha Banks, and every one of them jumped on my case. I'm just like, look, it's what it is. Kane and Sasha Banks. Canadians love them.
I'm with them on the Sasha Banks thing, man. Like Sasha Banks is gonna go down as one of the greatest of all time, man. She, you know.
As long as we delete all the face runs, yes, we'll be good. If we delete those, we'll be okay, right? So as we get to the end here, anything that you want our fans to know about you, where can they find you? Any upcoming events or any Facebook or Instagram or social media events that's coming out for you that we can get our fans more engaged with you?
My Twitter account is Shaun_Moore 3. I got that right. Every single podcast I've been on, I got it wrong, but I made sure I remember it. You can ask Spencer about that one.
Gotcha. We'll do.
My Instagram account is at Shaun M Fit. A bit different than my wrestling account. There's a bit more fitness stuff on there. I do all the exercise and whatnot. The next time, hopefully, I'll chat with you guys because you talked about Marvel.
Okay.
I've always said this. If it comes to Marvel and Star Wars, I am game. I am ready to chat. Right.
Perfect.
So
we'll definitely have to have you on, dude.
Wants to talk,
especially around May 4th for the Bad Batch premiere, man. For sure, we'll have to have you on.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, as you can probably see behind me, behind me is a whole bunch of Marvel and it's posters of myself as Marvel characters. Well, what's your favorite Marvel character? Answer.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man, hands down.
No hesitation.
Spider-Man's been my guy since I was a kid. Like Peter Parker's story. Like in England, I felt different to everybody else, and when I was in Canada, I felt different to everybody else, and I felt I was like alone. So Peter Parker reached out to me in a different way than other people had. Not to mention that when they brought in Miles Morales later, and his story is incredible. Ben Reilly, like his Spider-Man suit's my favorite of all time. Like it's just Spider-Man's been my guy. Like a podcast, and I could spend a whole 2 hours talking about this, is Andrew Garfield did not get enough respect as Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man series. Okay. And I can explain this in a 5-paragraph essay in MLA format.
I want you to, first of all, you can tell I'm a Marvel fan because my shirt says Thanos, so you know who one of my favorite characters is. So it's Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, like so Scarlet Spider, Thanos, and Cyclops. Those are my dudes, right? Followed by Doctor Doom. But I'm gonna show you something that's really fun. Look at this. Can you see? I'm dressed as Spider-Man.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's cool.
Show him your bathroom door.
Yes.
Show him the bathroom door on the camera, dude.
Yeah, right. Well, we won't reach it, but on my bathroom door, it says, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. So, it's so interesting because Spider-Man's story has actually brought, I know this is me completely nerding out here, has brought so much inspiration to my life. Yeah. It seems so weird for people that don't, read comics or watch the movies and stuff and understand. But like I said, his story spoke to me in a different way to any other superhero that I've ever experienced. Like Batman again is probably my second favorite for obvious reasons. He was a ninja that beat people up, and if you could fight, I'm down, right? So that was
Batman throw hands. You're right.
Yeah, right. Anybody who wants to go fist cuff, I'm ready to go. I said now we're going into I used to watch Jet Li, Jackie Chan, any martial arts film, man. Any of those type guys, Undisputed with Michael J. White and stuff. I'm like, if you could fight like that, hand to hand, I'm good to go, man.
I don't want to get in trouble with my producer here, and I know I set a little time limit. However, I want to just have a quick discussion with you. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Have you been watching?
It's actually my favorite Marvel series.
I don't want to get too deep, right? We can.
I haven't watched this week. I haven't watched this week.
Right, but we'll save Shaun. By the time the finale comes out, hopefully we'll have you on again, and we will start the whole conversation talking about Falcon, because this Falcon and Winter Soldier is the Marvel show right now, next to Black Panther, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. Just the way that they've managed to, every single character is complex in that show, and that's what I love. Especially the fact that they're touching on such a political topic, and a topic that on one side of the coin people don't want to talk about, on one side of the coin people want to talk about, and they've managed to make every character have a reason why you should agree with them and a reason why you shouldn't agree with them. Yep. And you haven't watched the latest episode, but they really delve into that in this next episode.
It was deep.
So you need to check it out because it's great. Okay. It's my favorite Marvel show now. Before that, it was season 3 of Daredevil. I thought, that was fantastic. But I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier has done something that no Marvel show has done yet, and that was really create these complex characters where you're again at times with Bucky, you're like, man, I don't think you're doing the right thing here,
Right.
with Falcon, you know, with Sam, why would you just give up the shield like that, man? And then they explain what was going on in his thought process, what's going on in everybody else's thought process, you know, down to the hypothetical thing of what would happen if half the world disappeared. Would the governments as we know it right now be accepting of people changing the way the entire world system was before?
Right.
And they go into, you know, Carly Morgan's character. I'm like, it's incredible. So yeah, I'm totally down to talk about it because I think it's fascinating what they managed to
Let's do it.
We will get into it. I'm a wrestling nerd, but you know, like I'm a Marvel comic book nerd and stuff. I have a lightsaber. Everything you love is in my office right here in this facility. So we enjoyed talking to you. We enjoyed taking time to get to know you. We can't wait to get to know more of you. We can't wait for you to get back in the ring so we can see some of this action. And again, America, we promise we're gonna have two things, and Canada, right? We're gonna have two things. We're gonna have a survey for his move name, right? We're gonna have that, and we're gonna have this gentleman back to have another great conversation with us. As always, America, Canada too, we thank you for stopping in to the hardest part of the ring, and we will see you soon for our next Indie Underground.